Do you know why Dora is the world's most beloved explorer?
I do.
With Dora, your child sees a friend.
Hola, amigos.
And you see them discover language.
Say arriba. Arriba.
Kindness.
I'll help you, Boots.
And perseverance.
I don't think I can do it, Dora. Together, we got this.
Now that's a map for a bright future.
Yeah!
Watch Dora, the brand new show, weekdays at 11 on Nickelodeon and available now on Paramount+.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Motherhood. 1 minute, you're mom of the year.
I love you, Mommy.
Then the next, not so much. From bath time to bullying, from potty training to puberty, parenting is full of challenges. But one thing is for certain, you are not alone. Welcome to Modern Mom Probs. I'm your host, author, mother, parenting expert, Tara Clark. Join me while we tackle today's modern mom problems. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Modern Mom Probs, where we're trying to solve the world's modern mom problems. And if we can't do that, hey, at least we're having fun talking about it, right? Thanks for joining again this week. We are going to be talking about something near and dear to my heart right now, and that is perimenopause and the importance of moving your body. I am joined by Bre Bicknell. She is a certified personal trainer, a strength coach, a nutrition specialist, and a health coach specializing in this area. She is the creator of the business Burn Brighter Coaching. And Bre and I are going to talk about all the things that people may not know about perimenopause or may be too shy to ask. I'm not shy when it comes to this. I'm asking all the questions because I don't know and I want to know and I want to be informed when my body gets to that point. And it's something that previous generations didn't speak about publicly. So here we are speaking about all of this publicly. We're just going to get it all out there. It is definitely a modern mom problem that doesn't have to be taboo anymore. So having said that, let's bring Bre on. Bre, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm so excited that you're here. We're going to chat about all the things. We're going to chat about perimenopause. We're going to chat about moving our bodies. We're going to chat about our life experiences. And so let's get started with that. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Tara, I will say, as I'm feeling right now, I'm a high-feeling human, like a lot of people. I can't help but notice energy in and around me wherever I go. So that's one thing that's always been innate and is just part of my essence, is I've always been keenly aware of energy in and around me. And I really thought of this last night. We got 2 kittens. So we have 8-week-old kittens here.
I love
and
it.
that my husband and I got. And they're adorable. And I've never been around kittens before. So
we have a lot of cats. We have 3 indoor cats and 3 outdoor cats, and 2 of them were kittens from the same litter. So there was a point in our lives where we had 8-week-old kittens as well.
Awesome.
And it's the best.
It is the best. My clients earlier, they were like, how are you training us? Why didn't you take the day off work and just hang out with the kittens? So anyhow, I was watching these kittens and the little boy that brought them over, the home that they came from. And I'm watching his energy and my husband's energy, and the kittens they're in brand new territory and they're looking around and all this stuff. And so they're, if they hear a quick sound or a loud sound, they jump and all of that. And my husband, Chris, he has this great calming energy. He's just very easeful is the word that I would say. He's very good at creating good transitions between things. So if something's coming up, like he's going to be ready 10 minutes before, which means he's doing nothing. So it's like a great bumper time. I love that. And I love helping people with that. And so anyhow, he was able to, be prepared before this little boy came over. I think I was like doing some things and kind of bustling around the house a little bit. And he was just preparing himself. And then when these kittens came in, they kind of looked around and then they looked at him and they just crawled right up onto his lap, both of them, right? Stranger. And they just melted into him. And he's always been, I mean, he's been around a lot of cats his life, but I was like, that's really cool. And it made sense. It wasn't like, that's amazing. It was because I've seen this before with him, but I was noticing that. Right. And then the little boy's been taking care of them. And so he like held the kitten like a baby when he went to leave and all of that. And it was just interesting. And so I thought, okay, well, I need to make myself, I was excited. And I thought, Bre, just bring yourself down. I think internally I'm an 8-year-old little girl all the time. And so,
Same.
So I thought, just bring yourself down, calm down. I breathe in and out through my nose a little bit, calm my nervous system and sit down. And then they slowly come over as well. They're not the same way, but it was totally fine. And this morning, them and I had a great moment. And so it was really cool. But I'm just intrigued by energy all around me. And then after that, we went and got pizza for dinner at a restaurant. And I'm noticing on one booth on one side, there's a couple that looks like they're newly dating. And so there's a little bit of nervousness and like kissing, but not completely comfortable yet. And then there's a couple on the other side that seem like they've been friends for a while having an argument. And so I just pick up on this stuff all the time. And the reason why I share that is it brings me to the topic of today and also just how I got to be in this field. So do you mind if I talk a little bit about that?
That's what you're here for.
Okay, cool. So the first time I really noticed this energy, and I'm touching my legs right now, my quads, because that's where I feel active energy. That's where I feel activation the quickest, was at age 6. And my mom was upset with me. And so this is I was born in 79. So we're talking about, 87. So, they're not very old at all. Did I do that math well? No, I didn't. 84. So my mom was upset because I was crying and she didn't know what to do with that, right? She wanted me to stop. So she was saying, stop over and over again. And so this is of the generation. My parents were born in 51 and 54. Their parents served in the war. Right. So I think a lot of your listeners understand this from previous podcast episodes. I've heard you say dusty, right? Dusty people, and cleaning up, kind of this generational trauma and just being more conscious and aware. And they didn't have those tools right then, right? They didn't have the terms that we know now, luckily, thankfully, of self-regulation, nervous system regulation, of attachment styles, those things. And therapy wasn't a common thing, right? So my mom didn't have the resources or the capabilities to really know what to do with her 6-year-old little girl who's in front of her and uncontrollably sobbing, right? And so that energy, I really felt that energy and I didn't know what to do. And there was a lot of yelling in the home because my parents didn't know how to deal with some of the things with us kids. And now I know. I did get a parenting experience in my life myself, and you are faced with your own stuff with your kids, right? Like they are your mirror at points is what I found. And so I think that I was activating her stuff. I was activating her own trauma that she had as a child. And she and I have had phone conversations about this. And so this is true. She's told me that. So with that activation, I felt her energy is what I'm trying to get to. And that energy kept peaking and peaking and peaking. As a 6-year-old little girl, I didn't know what to do. And so, I was yelled at, spanked a little bit. That was just, a thing that happened in a lot of our homes. I think maybe it wasn't right, but it did happen. And hopefully we aren't repeating that much. But I had this energy and I didn't know what to do. And I remember after she left my room that I stomped. And I remember stomping really loudly, like threw a little fit. But what was so cool, Tara, is that I instantly felt better. It was like as if I was a Disney cartoon and I was looking at my feet like on Inside Out and I was like, boop, 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 boop. And then I looked down and I was like, oh my God, I feel better. This is amazing. And so then that took to jump roping. However, I thought I can move my legs and I can feel better. Right. And so this is in the mid 80s and we were free to roam as kids. So we lived in a small town and luckily I was able to go around my neighbor's house, play with my friends a lot, be outside until sunset, all of that. So I was able to be really, really active. So I won jump rope competitions. I took to track at a young age, all of that stuff. And so I was able to, kind of in a way, self-regulate my energy, handle my stress, handle my energy in a little way. And that's so I kept doing that. I kept using exercise as kind of a tool. Didn't know it, didn't think like, oh, I'm working out. I just thought this makes me feel better. And until I went to college, up through college. And then, I was faced with the point of what are you going to do with your life? People ask you, what are you going to major in? What are you going to do? And I went straight from high school to college. I went to University of Washington. And because I've always noticed the energy around people, I really like studying human behavior. So that led me to studying, I majored in society and justice at University of Washington. And basically I wanted to know what makes people do what they do. What makes people, act out at certain people? What makes people do what they do? Why can some people keep their cool and some people can't? And so I studied through that. I actually wrote my thesis on female sex offenders. And that led me into interning with the Seattle City Attorney's Office in the domestic violence unit. And I worked there for 3 years. And then I worked at a family law office. And so you kind of go through the things, and I'm still only in my early mid-20s, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do next? And so I thought I wanted to go into law enforcement. And so I applied to become a deputy sheriff with King County, went through the whole interview process. I'm proud to say that I was the one female that made it. There were 29 men, and me that made into the academy. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Because there is a lot of logical tests as well, right? It's not just physical. So there's a lot of common sense, 3 polygraphs. So interesting. And, anyhow, it was then that it's like I hit a roadblock, a concrete wall. I was accepted into the deputy sheriff's position, and my body doubled up in pain for days. So at first, when I was accepted to it, I was like, I got to take a moment. I literally excused myself from the office, and I just said, I've got to get back to you. Like, I couldn't answer. It was really interesting. So I have a very intuitive body. And so I was balled up in pain. I had stomach pain. I had headaches. I was on the bathroom floor for a full day. And it wasn't until I actually got to see my father. He was coming over for dinner. And I said, I don't think I can do this, that I started sobbing. I needed to release emotions. And it was that moment. And sometimes I don't think we have to know what exactly is going on. We just need to know that that feels like the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's what I need to feel. And luckily, my dad was able to stay calm and said, then don't do it. Right. I didn't know where I was going. So after that, and so, I felt disappointed in myself. I felt a little ashamed. And so I went to where I felt better, what can make me feel better. And that was movement. So at that time, I went to a gym and I started lifting, and I started watching other people. Actually, I had been lifting since I was 14 years old. Luckily, I had a cross-country coach that got me into lifting. That was great. But I started observing other people, and I noticed I would watch people come in because I had some free time, right? I didn't have a job at that point. And so I had some free time, and I'd watch people come in, and they looked like the defendants I worked with. They looked like the people that I was meeting on the worst days of their life, worst day and days of their life. And they looked tense in the jaw, furrowed brow, red face, just kind of like a balled up fist in their face and their shoulders. And it's totally true that within about 20 minutes, by the time they changed and all this stuff and stopped talking, I noticed that once they stopped talking, because you greet other people, all of that, and they got into their breath, not just into their movement, but into their breath, their faces changed. They relaxed, their jaws loosened, their shoulders dropped. And I noticed it over and over again, but it was something that was like magnified to me. It was like some gift that was being brought to me. And I just thought, oh, this is magical. And this, maybe I can help people here. And that thought just felt like the truth to me, right? That's how it was. And so I started studying physiology. I went back to school for biology. I started studying all the things. And so I just started drinking the lemonade. Haven't been able to stop. I love learning, which brings us to perimenopause and menopause, because my students really bring up the things that I can keep learning about. Right. Some of my own struggles bring it up, but their I don't want to say issues, their concerns as well bring it up. Their kids' allergies or something, and I research them because my brain just loves this stuff. I just keep going with it and usually get certified in it. So from there, I became a personal trainer. Then I became a health coach, then a nutrition specialist, and a strength coach as well. I'm also a functional movement specialist. But that's what brings me here to now. And a kind of wrap up to that is now I live in this because I tend to be easily activated. I live in a great environment. I live in a calm rural space with my husband here and our 2 new kittens. And it just makes me really able to show up for people and provide for them. And I have a lot of bandwidth here, and I'm happy to say that.
That's wonderful. All
you.
of that is so wonderful. Congratulations on the new kittens, because it's
Thank
so
you.
much fun to have new little baby cats in the house.
Yeah.
I love your background, and I love that you took the time to walk us through it, how you got from A to B and to C to where we are today, talking about perimenopause and the importance of moving your body. Perimenopause is something that I don't even know if I ever heard that word 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely don't think I did.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I mean, maybe it just so happens that I am a woman of a certain age and my algorithm is showing me more and more of this, or the conversation is sparked and now people are talking about it a lot more. But people are talking about perimenopause, saying they're raising their hand and saying, hey, I have brain fog. I have unexplained weight gain. I have night sweats. There's so many different things. I keep hearing people talking about itchy inner ears.
Yep.
I hear so many people say that. And I'm like, yeah, my ears do it. I just assumed that I don't know. I didn't clean them well. I don't know. But there's so many different types of symptoms. And I want to talk about not only, perimenopause itself, but how are some of the ways that we can not necessarily overcome it, because you're not going to overcome it, but ease the transition, I think is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, that was said perfectly, because you're right. You're not going to overcome it. It's a state that we're going through, but we don't need to suffer. And that's what I want the listeners to take away, is that you're right. I mean, we're so lucky, you and I and our listeners now, that we live in this generation where there are so many resources. And that's a blessing and a curse, because sometimes it feels like there's so much, but how cool is it that we do have social media to bring these words and awareness to us and all of this stuff. So yes, I am really excited to talk about this and how can we ease, and not even think like ease the suffering, but just, I want to think of a less dramatic term, just basically just feel better. Wherever your barometer is in perimenopause, how can you just feel better through this transition stage?
Yeah, definitely. For me, I'm going to get personal here, but I was lucky enough to never really struggle with my weight. Mm-hmm. I was always more or less the same weight growing up. I mean, did I think like, oh, I have fat thighs? Yeah, I probably always thought that. But like, in retrospect, did I have fat thighs? No. And also, did it matter? Also, no.
Exactly.
But right. Also, it doesn't matter one way or the other. But but now I am struggling, and I'm using this in quotes, struggling with my weight in a way that I've never struggled with it before, because I'm packing on pounds in areas of my body that just simply wasn't the case, right? So I'm getting like lower belly fat. I never had lower belly fat. I didn't even have lower belly fat after I gave birth to my son. It's only happened in the last year. One time, true story, it's sort of a humble brag, I guess, but I'll still tell the story. I was at a water park with my son. He was about 3 years old. And a woman out of nowhere, didn't know her, came up to me and said, "You don't even look like you had a baby. You don't even look like his mom." And I was like, "Thank you." And I said, "Thank you." And just walked away.
Question mark?
It was the single weirdest question/interaction observation I've ever seen. There could have been 100 reasons why my stomach looked the way it did. 100 reasons. Maybe, maybe I had a surrogate. Maybe I was not his biological mother. I mean, there was 1,000 reasons. I am his biological mother, but there are 1,000 reasons that I could have had the stomach that I had. But my point is that my stomach was never, and I'm using this in quotes, a problem area for me. Mm-hmm. Now it is. And I look down and I think, but how? But why? And I know that's directly related to perimenopause.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you're right. And one thing I want to say before we get into this too is I really encourage women to start embracing our aging bodies. So a lot of this is going to happen. So it's like, I'm going to speak to what causes some of that, right? And it could be other things too. You never know. Like I want women to get a full panel blood test for themselves. Cause I recently found, I thought that I needed to get on some hormone replacement therapy, went in for a full panel blood test, realized I'm really low in iron, really low in ferritin. And once I put that in, oh my goodness, that solved the problem that I was having. I was having some depression, a little bit of brain fog, and I wasn't recovering very well after workouts. And that fixed it. So a full panel blood test hopefully note on that as well, is something that everybody should get, because you never know what's going on, right? Our bodies are elaborate, amazing systems. But also, the flat belly thing that we as women tend to pride ourselves on. I think it's because we've seen it in magazines our entire lives. There's all this stuff we've already talked about, but, you know, start to be okay with that part of yourself. Start to be okay with things relaxing a little bit and think of it that way, right? So it's not saying like, for the listeners, we are going to address that. There is a reason that belly fat is showing up in that area, but start letting yourself get a little more comfortable with yourself in the mirror. And I tend to I call it my pooch, right? And I have a very small pooch. Like my friends yell at me if I say anything about it because they're like, you're ridiculous. But there's something interesting about our society, and especially about, I think, the generation of Zennials as well, that, and around this, I think a lot of us women, that we think we should have a flat stomach. And, basically to have a little fat around that area is healthy. I think we know that from history. It's healthy, and it's actually protective to our organs a little bit as well. So anyhow, I digress a little bit, but yes, we are going to address that because that's a common concern, and there is a correlation to that. Do you want me to speak about that now?
Yeah. Let's talk about it. Let's dive in.
Yeah. So it's kind of spread around with some of the questions that we have, but anyhow, so the belly fat mostly happens from, it happens from our circadian rhythm can be off with sleep if we're not getting sleep very well. Sleep is one of the biggest things that women should and can get control of in their perimenopause years. Now, perimenopause, and a great author on this she wrote the book Grown Women Talk, Dr. Sharon Malone. She's an amazing OBGYN. She's helped, she's served Michelle Obama, Oprah. She's pretty big. So if you look up Dr. Sharon Malone, if you haven't heard of her, she has a wealth of resources. Perimenopause, she talks about as the year of, it's up to 10 years and typically 10 years before your last period. So this is the time in our life when our periods are getting a little infrequent, right? And they're irregular and those sort of things. But if you're like, I'm not really in it. Well, if you're asking the question, but you're having any of the symptoms, you most likely are. All right. So 10 years before your period stops. And also a good way of knowing this is if you can contact your mother or sisters, or other women in your family, ask when they got it as well. So not got it, went into perimenopause.
Yeah.
It's interesting. But anyhow, so a big thing once you're in perimenopause, the main struggle for women is sleep. That tends to be the main struggle for women. And getting this in check is huge. And there's a few simple things that you can do, Tara. So one is have a cool room. You want your body temperature needs to be 1 degree cooler in order to fall asleep. That's very important. So have a cool room. If you have a partner where, that doesn't work for them, they can put on more blankets, something like that. Right. And then there's also, people don't know of it, the Chili Pad, CHILLYPAD.com. And I have a lot of clients that have liked this as well. You can check it out. They have great resources. So to help you sleep cooler. And then the other thing is dark room, even any ambient light coming in any bit, right? That can really disturb your sleep. My husband now understands, because I gave him a whole bunch of science, that him looking at his phone before bed. My phone is in another room. I really got him on top of my sleep habits a couple of years ago. And so my phone is on airplane mode in another room. I'm not bragging, but that works for me, right? Him scrolling through any images. He's a car guy. So typically he's looking at like Corvettes, like fun things before bed. And the scrolling light really bothers me. So he knows to turn away. Anyhow, so bring down the light in the room, have a dark room the best you can, a cool room, and then try to go to bed at the same time every night, around the same time. That can be hard, but do the best you can. It's actually been found that more than getting the same hours of sleep. So if you're like, well, I'm getting 7-8 hours of sleep. No, try to stick to the same time. Our bodies love rhythms, and having a circadian rhythm is super important to sleep. Now, the circadian rhythm and the time you go to bed especially pertains to belly fat, because when our circadian rhythm is off, that's when our cortisol increases, and that's what directly correlates to belly fat. There's some other reasons as well. It basically has to do with stress level, but just know the belly fat is associated with stress level. And one way that you can easily change that is by sticking to a normal sleep time in a cool room with low ambient light. Other things are going to come into that too, right? So like, let's not just throw out like the alcohol doesn't affect it at all, or sugar or something like that. But that's one great way.
Yeah, no, that's such a good way. Those are really good suggestions. I also want to highly recommend Cozy Earth sheets and blankets and pajamas.
Yeah,
not that this is an
great.
ad, but I swear by Cozy Earth. So all of my pajamas and all of my sheets are Cozy Earth because they keep my body cool.
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah. Huge fan of the Cozy Earth people. I love that. I never really considered stress with belly fat. I thought sugar, that I just never considered the stress with it. I'm very good about going to the bed at the same time every night. So I know that that's not necessarily an issue for me, but I never really considered stress levels. So that could definitely be part of it. It's interesting. That's definitely something to think about. And I feel like maybe, hormones in general, just sort of like flowing through your body in a different way. But my body definitely, and I am getting better about accepting my new 40-year-old body versus my 30-something-year-old body, because I've had a couple years now to get used to it. So it's definitely, it just takes a bit of getting used to, because you feel like you're living not in someone else's body. I shouldn't say that necessarily, but like sort of. It was like, this hasn't been my body, my entire life, probably in the last year or so. And you're just kind of getting used to it. Even like, you're like, I'm going to say this totally, this is going to sound crazy, but like even your boobs, right? Like your boobs are sort of like lower than they were, like your body's just different. It's just changing.
Yeah. Yeah. We're becoming a little softer, and that's what we're designed to do. Evolutionarily, that's what we're designed to do. And so, just have a little grace with yourself and stop comparing yourself to old pictures. I think that really, really helps. I think just being like, okay, this is a new version of me, and how can I start liking myself here?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to keep in mind. I do Pilates several times a week, and at my Pilates studio, there are a huge group of women who I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. They're seniors. They're older women who go to the Pilates classes every single day. And I am so proud of them, because they are such badass women for getting out there, getting on the reformer, moving their bodies every day. And I give them so much credit, because I think at some point along the line, they realized, I need to move my body. I need to be flexible. I need to feel strong. And they're not walking around like, stick figure Pilates models kind of thing. Like, no, they're just simply regular older women who care about their health and want to take care of themselves.
Yeah. And what I like that you said is, it is really important that we just, I don't want to say drill in, but get the practice of moving. Like, you will, with perimenopause and menopause, you will feel less motivated. You will feel lethargic. And it's just being like, I'm going to use the term fake it till you make it. Just be like, I'm going to feel better after this. So with those women, a lot of them, it may be a really big struggle to get themselves there. And the number one thing, the best thing is just show up, and then you get the wheels turning.
Mm-hmm. It's true. I mean, that's true. I think whether you're 30 years old or whether you're 65 years old, sometimes you just gotta put on your sneakers and just go. You just go, whether it's going for a walk around your block or on your treadmill or driving to Pilates class, you just have to just go.
Yes.
Yeah. My husband and I recently joined a gym. So we have a gym in our house, and I go to Pilates, and we just joined a big proper gym because they have all the weights and the Nautiluses and stuff. And so years ago, we used to lift, and now we're getting back into lifting. And I'm really excited because I love the way my body looks when I lift heavy weights.
Oh, and what are you noticing?
And I'm noticing a couple things. One, being older now, it takes a little bit more to get toned than it did when I was in my 30s. Mm-hmm. And so it's just being consistent, keeping consistent with it, just showing up and giving it your best while you're there. And that's it. But I think the combination between Pilates and lifting together, hopefully will make a good, healthy difference.
Yeah, well, and because you're really working your smaller ligaments to support the big muscles is what you're doing with Pilates. And that's really awesome. And also, the best exercise to do is the one that you enjoy the most. Everybody's different. So really that's important. I love that there's so many different variations of things that we can do. And some people take to some things a lot and some people take to other things, right? And so it's whatever you enjoy, because then you're going to do it. And I love that you have your different varieties of places to move your body, because you and your husband, because the best gym is the one that is the most convenient and the most consistent. So basically I see like you guys have got these bumpers on around you. You're like, it's going to happen.
Yes. That's what it is. We make a concerted effort to do it. And when we first got married, we used to go to the gym together all the time and we loved it. It was just a fun thing for us to do together. We would circulate through the machines. One day would be leg day. Another day is back and arms, and it was something that we loved to do together. And then we didn't belong to a gym for a very long time. And now we're getting back into it together. And so it's a fun date sort of, I don't know if you call it a date, but for lack of a better term, it's a fun date activity for us. And it's a healthy one.
You're connecting. And I like when people connect and we're not just talking, right? Because when we're talking, that's great. I like deep talks with my girlfriends, all of that. But we're in our heads. We're cerebral, right? So that's an interesting thing is, would you like me to kind of know on what is actually happening in exercise and strength training?
Yes, let's talk about that, especially for women of a certain age.
Yeah. Okay. So basically a really good source. I love giving people resources, things for them to look at if they want to know more. So Dr. Wendy Suzuki, she's a professor of neurobiology and she has one of these viral TED Talks. It's from like 2012. So it's from a while ago, but she explains this so well. So I love pointing this TED Talk to people if they want to hear it again. So basically, exercise creates and maintains brain cells, right? And with resistance training, what's happening there, I'm going to go into the neurotransmitters and hormones that we're signaling, but with resistance training, what's happening there is that you're actually able to, when you challenge your muscles, Tara, this is amazing to me. It's so magical. You are able to create new brain cells. And we didn't know that this was possible until, I want to say like 2004. So I'm not sure of the year exactly, but the science is fairly new on this. So we didn't know that we could create new brain cells. And that happens in your hippocampus, which is super important. So in your hippocampus, in your frontal lobe, right? So hippocampus is kind of the brain stem. And then the frontal lobe, it's in our front and it's big. And so this, I need to calm down, Bre. I get excited. So this is our, I get so excited about this stuff.
It's exciting stuff.
It is. It's really exciting because it's like, oh my goodness, this actually happens. And we can actually do this on a daily basis with something that doesn't have any poor side effects other than overdoing it, right? So, or stretching or something. But, basically, we are able to strengthen connections. We're able to strengthen the synapses between our neurons, which are our brain cells. We're able to strengthen those connections and we're able to create new brain cells. And so you actually can grow a bigger and stronger frontal lobe and bigger and stronger hippocampus, which is really, really big and important during perimenopause because with the drop in estrogen is neuroprotective. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay. So sometimes I'm like, a lot of people know this, maybe they don't, whatever.
No.
So this is really important for listeners to hear. So estrogen has been labeled as a sex hormone for a long time. Who's the amazing doctor that she wrote? Basically, it's Menopause Brain is what the name of the book. And I'll think of her name in a moment. But she founded a lot of science in this because basically she kept resisting accepting that Alzheimer's and dementia happens just in women, in women more because we live longer. She kept being told this in medical school and she was like, there's something else. And it's these persistent scientists that we got to give props to. And so she did a bunch of research into it and she found that estrogen is neuroprotective. And so it's actually protecting our brain cells. It's what it's doing is it's helping the dendrites, which are the things that come off of our neurons and help them connect more. They're helping to strengthen them. So we are actually helping to create stronger brain cells when we lift, right? But when estrogen declines, then we're losing that protection. So I'm going to stay on that for a moment. So I had a note here that I want to make sure I hit here. So when estrogen declines, we're decreasing that neuroprotective element. And as it declines more and more, the biggest thing for us women to understand is that, yes, you're going to have brain fog, but this is going to affect long-term memory. It's going to affect your concentration. It's going to affect everything. And it's not to say that I don't want listeners to be like, oh, well, then I'm going to get dementia and Alzheimer's. No. But what it does is it increases the chances, especially if you have inflammatory disorders previously in your past. I myself had Lyme's disease at age 9. So let's say somebody else had multiple sclerosis, something that affected your nervous system, then you're more prone to it. And that's why when I found that out, and it was like estrogen is it protects your nervous system, protects your brain cells. It's neuroprotective. I was like, mic drop. Like I read that over and over and over again in her research. And I was just like, whoa. So that's really huge. And so I want people to know that because of the drop in estrogen, we are losing out on that neuroprotective elements. And that is causing the cognitive decline. That causes some of the brain fog, some of that stuff with the progesterone drop. So estrogen and progesterone. With the progesterone drop, it really keeps us more calm. So the things like the body itching, things like that, like you said, inner ear, people feel like their skin itching and their stuff like that. That's more the drop in progesterone. But with estrogen, it's really our brain that estrogen has been protecting and our nervous system. And one way that we can counteract that, one of the biggest ways, is through strength training, because it causes us to have more protective elements. And that's because when we stimulate our muscle fibers, we create BDNF. Have you heard of this?
No.
Okay. Brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Okay. Your muscle is an endocrine organ. Our human body's muscles are endocrine organs, which means that they secrete hormones. This is really cool. And so when we lift up weights, like I'm holding a coffee cup, but any external load, right? Anything like that. But when you lift weight and you stimulate your muscle fibers, then you are secreting BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is a protein, which also strengthens your nervous system and it strengthens your brain cells. So it's really cool. It reduces inflammation. And Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, who's a forefront in muscle-centric medicine, I'm looking at her book now, Forever Strong. She's a great resource as well. She says that once we activate muscle tissue, we're protecting the brain and reducing inflammation. And she says that muscle is a backdoor way to optimize brain health and protect your brain. So it's really cool. So it's like, oh, this sucks. We're getting a drop in estrogen. This is happening. We're not as neuroprotected. Oh, but look at this magic button we have, which is muscle, which we utilize through strength training. And that can help reverse this. Now, what women need to know is you have to lift kind of heavy. You have to keep challenging ourselves. With the human body, it's a little annoying, but it's true. And we just need to embrace it that when we're used to something, we stop adapting. So let's say you one day were like, I'm going to go on that 2-mile walk that I've never been on before. And that felt challenging that day. And then you got more and more used to it. And you've been doing that 2-mile walk, that same 2-mile walk 3 years later. And you tell your friends like, yeah, I'm staying fit. I'm going on this 2-mile walk. Well, guess what? Your body checked out a long time ago. It was like, this is easy peasy, right? I'm not feeling challenged. Our brain needs to be stimulated as well. So we do need to create, and I think it's Tony Horton, which does like P90X. He says like muscle confusion, right? So we do need to create muscle confusion. And we need to basically keep challenging the body. It's like our kids. You gotta help them level up. They're going from the 4th grade to the 5th grade. They're not just going to stay in the 4th grade for their whole life, right? So basically, you need to increase the challenges. And doing this safely can be a little tricky. And we need to make sure that we are putting in mobility, that we're respecting our fascia, which is our connective tissue. So all of that. So I don't want to get too far off, but basically, because estrogen is declining, we want to protect ourselves with strength training, with exercise as well. Now, exercise is also helping stimulate those really feel-good hormones as well that help us. So serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, those things that make us feel good, and the endorphins get going as well. And that all makes us feel better. We get more motivated. We're more focused. Logically, we do things better. We work better, all of that stuff, which is why it's really great if people can get moving earlier in their day, because then they're a little more focused. They're able to work better.
Oh, yeah. I guess I hadn't thought about that, but that makes sense. When I go to Pilates, I tend to do it first thing in the morning to sort of check that off and then go about my business for the rest of the day.
Yeah. And it's whenever you can get it in, right? Fit it in, get it in wherever you can.
No, that's so important. So what would you say to a woman who's coming to you and saying, well, Bre, I'm not really an athlete. I'm not really the muscular type, because our generation, yes, we're accustomed to moving our bodies. We're okay going to the gym. I do know older women who have never worked out. It just wasn't necessarily something that people did, that girls did back then. Maybe they, walked or something. My mom used to tell me stories about I guess it was the 70s. She's like, oh yeah, she's like, we used to walk the track and smoke cigarettes at the same time. I was like, Mom, like that doesn't, and also at the same time, like just not eat. And I'm like, that's not healthy, Mommy. Like that was not the right thing to do. Categorically not the right thing to do.
Your mom sounds really cool.
She is. She's a piss. She's a piss. She was very funny. But that's what she said. Like that was how they were, and I'm using this in quotes, being healthy back in the 70s. They would walk and smoke and skip meals and count their calories, and that was it.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what they knew.
And that's what they knew. And that's what they knew. So now that they are women of a certain age, right? My mom just turned 69. She actually, I have to give her a lot of credit. She swims every day and she walks every day. So she is, I'm very proud to say, doing really well with her mobility. I do know other women her same age that are not necessarily in the same boat because they never worked out in their lives.
Yes.
So what would you say to them, saying like, I don't know, Bre, it's just not anything I've ever done before?
Well, we start where you're at. So first of all, why are they coming to me? What are their goals? So I actually have 3 women that are in this boat. So this area that I moved to, I'm an hour south of Seattle, and it's an area called Berrydale. It's outside of Covington. There's a lot of women here so the women that are coming to me, they're in their mid 60s. A lot of my neighbors out here are retired, and they've been doing life. They've been doing a lot of big things in life, meaning that they've had 3 to 5 kids. Now they have grandkids. This is a rural environment. They've been working on the land, all of this stuff, but they never got any movement coaching. So because they weren't once in a while, doing a stretch or doing something to rotate their body, a lot of our strength stuff. So think about somebody pushing a wheelbarrow. It's just in front and back. And that's called sagittal plane. And basically, a lot of our movements that we do are pushing and pulling. So then when you go to like reach in your back car to get your kid's lunch sack or your coat or something, then we tear our rotator cuffs. And it's basically because we're not getting in that rotational mobility, right? So they didn't have a coach saying like, hey, let's do this to keep you feeling good. Basically, they kept working hard, picking up their kids, just getting on with their day, doing the things they need to do, and then just putting up with this tight body, right? And so then they're coming to me because some stress has tipped the scale, right? And their body's feeling the stress. And that's typically what happens. So, they're having some gut issues, or they're feeling something, or they're like, I have this pain and I've been working with the PT and I can't get it out. And I realize I just need some help with this. So these are the women of, Title IX, but to see like they're around like right before or during Title IX when women weren't really allowed in sports and all of this stuff. So what I say, the short of that is, what are you doing now and what feels good to you? And then I just look at how I can best help them from exactly where they're at. And what we need to do is not a quote workout. We need to do movement. We need to get their body used to moving multi-directionally. We have a loop of connective tissue that runs through our body. It's called the fascial loop. And basically, if you look up fasciaguide.com, there's an amazing site for that as well. Now, this runs, your fascia is your connective tissue, and it runs between your bones and your muscles. And so it's really important we pay attention to that. And hydration is important for that reason as well for it. It can get sticky when we're dehydrated. So basically, I look at what can this woman do in front of me. So I'm going to use a generic name for one of my students. I'm going to call her Tammy. So Tammy, has a lot of back pain. She has 3 inflammatory disorders. This is completely true. She has actually a disorder where her spine tends to fuse every night. It's called ankylosing spondylitis. And so she needs to move a little bit every day. So what I give women like this is, you're not used to working out. You may not even really like exercise, but let's get you moving for 3 minutes in whichever way you can. So this woman was not able to get up and down from the floor, right? That's okay. We'll work from that. So we did simple standing postures. And then we also work in some breath as well to let her body know that it's safe and to know, because this is new stuff to her, right? She's going to have a lot of self-judgment. There's going to be confusion, all of this. So we work in nasal breathing, which stimulates your vagus nerve, which basically calms your nervous system. So nasal breathing, breathing in out through your nose, calms your nervous system. So that's where I start with these women, Tara, is I say, we're going to get these movements in 2 to 3 times a day. And you're going to do, I ask them, what can you do? How many minutes do you want to do each time? And if they say 7 minutes, I say, great. And I give them 4 minutes because we need to do what's practical, right? I usually take what somebody gives me, I about half it and maybe even take it down a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so the importance is that it's consistent and it's frequent for women like this. So for bodies like this. So it's not that they need to do a half-hour workout. In fact, that's not great for them to do. It's that they need to split it up into tiny chunks and do it throughout the day. And I advise this for most people if they can, right? So I'm actually I did 12 minutes of movement earlier. I got to walk briskly up and down a hill. I have a pull-up bar. I got to do that. Once I'm done with this call, after that, then I'm going to do the same thing. And I can fit in 6 minutes before another phone call. So you fit it in how you can. Mm-hmm. So basically the answer is, with women like this, you meet them where you're at, you stay really realistic, and then accountability is huge. They need to know that somebody is showing up for them, and they need to know that they're being seen. We all need that. We all need to feel appreciated, right? We really, really do. That just is good for our souls, and it's what keeps us moving forward. So what I say is, hey, when would you like to text me? That's the easiest way. People, text is just right in our face right then. And I say, you want to text me every Friday? Do you want to, because then I also note that when they're going to text me, and they think it's hilarious, but they get a text from me within like 2 hours after the time they're supposed to text me. And I'm like, hey, how's it going, Tammy? So I really keep people accountable and I check in. So that's what it is make it doable, make it totally actionable, right? So a simple thing that they can understand, that they can do, and then let them know that you're going to be following up with them. Let them know that you see that I see them.
I love that. I think that's great advice. It really is such good advice. Bre, I'm going to ask you a question that I ask all of my guests. What do you think is the biggest modern mom problem today?
That is that I want to say doing too much. Basically doing too much. We tend to add too much into our days. And I get it. So I'm not a mom, but I got an experience where I got to parent my nephew for a period of 3 years, and from the ages of 4 to 5 and 9 to 11. And it wasn't until that phase, and I'm so glad that I got that experience, because one, I got to appreciate the mom community. Women come out of the woodwork to help you. So amazing, so much fun. And also, I got to understand the mom brain a little bit. So my brain turned into a hamster wheel. And I also remember I was crying one day to a student I didn't expect to. And I said, I feel like my heart is walking around outside my body. And she goes, welcome to parenthood. And I was like, yes. And so I felt like I needed to take care of everything. So I say that because I understand the mom's brain. I think I do, to where we think we need to take care of so much, and we put ourselves way in the backseat, and we put everybody in the front. And it's just what's natural. It's just what's going to happen with moms. And so thinking that you need to know it all and do it all, I think that really holds a lot of women back. I think the best thing we can do is to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. And so Yeah, a tool that I give women is this is from Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor. She's a neuroanatomist. She's amazing. And it's the 90-second rule. She scientifically proved that within 90 seconds, you can allow an uncomfortable emotion to pass through your body. And so literally taking, and women love hearing that because it's less than 2 minutes, right? So if you just let yourself sit, I advise that women breathe in and out through their nose. This is for everybody, but we're applying to women here. And so breathe in and out through your nose, calm your nervous system, in for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. You can do any pattern that you want, but that's an advised one. Basically, breathe slowly in and out through your nose and let yourself have this little bumper time. It's what I realized my husband does before he saw our new kittens yesterday, right? It's this bumper time that he's able to give himself. And basically, it tells your body that you're safe and you're doing fine and you don't need to keep doing more, because our to-do lists are never ending. And that's why I really love working with moms, is because I want to help them keep accomplishing more, because I work with highly intelligent, motivated women that they want to and they should keep doing the things that they love. But the trying to do everything, I would love for women to just sit back, take a breath, and check in with their body. And I think that intuitively your body is going to be like, you know what? You don't need to take care of that today. Just look at what you can let go of. Maybe you can cancel a social date. Maybe you can say, nope, I'm not going to do the dishes.
Yep, exactly. I love that answer. You're spot on with that. Absolutely spot on. Bre, where can everyone find you online?
Yes, thank you. So I am on Instagram at Burn Brighter Coaching. So it's Burn, B-U-R-N, Brighter, B-R-I-G-H-T-E-R, and then Coaching, C-O-A-C-H-I-N-G. And on Facebook as well. In fact, on Facebook, I think it's under Bre Bicknell, B-R-E, and then Bicknell. But all of my handles, if you look, my website is burnbrightercoaching.com. Everything is that. And just so you know, Tara, I came up with that business name because I think everybody has their own little light, their own little power. And I just basically want to help you push the buttons that makes that brighter.
I love that one too. That's awesome. Bre, thank you so much for being here today. This was really, really inspiring and informational. You had so many wonderful resources. So thank you for doing all of the research to share with us.
Thank you. That just gives me tingles all through my body, because I just want people to be able to walk away with this and feel like they have something to work with. So thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Modern Mom Probs. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive in today's problem with me, your host, Tara Clark. Join me next time when I'll be interviewing another great guest and tackling another modern mom problem. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review and a rating. As always, you could head over to Modern Mom Probs on Instagram and give me a follow, or check out my book, Modern Mom Probs, A Survival Guide for 21st Century Mothers, available online wherever books are sold. Well, that's it for today. See you next time, folks.
Bingo.
All right, Phil, we're recording now, so it's live. Go ahead. Pick on me the way that you want to.
Did I say that? I wouldn't say that to my son. Man, I mean, come on, man.
Just go. This isn't CBS.
All right, be quiet for a few seconds. Why would people want to listen to the Sims Complete podcast? Well, a couple things. One, if you like to see sons pick on their father, this might be the place. If you want to see a place where the father just kicks the out of his son, this would be the place. What do you like about it, Matt?
Ditto. Father-son dynamic duo talking about the game of football that we love and share and appreciate together. And, hey, it's an extension of what we did, right? Growing up, I was able to watch my father play football, then obviously watch him as a broadcaster. And then he taught me the game of football and share the wisdom that he learned throughout his playing career. And, hey, sometimes we're full of it and sometimes we actually know a thing or two.
Well, we do a lot of research. At least I do. You're a little spotty, but you hang in there. It's fun. I love doing this and it's been awesome.
Sims Complete. Check us out wherever your podcasts are available on the Believe Network. Appreciate it. See ya.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.